Now, the thumbnails that I just showed you there are certainly mock-ups that I just made, but I get recommended videos like that from YouTube all the time. Now, the reason they recommend those videos to me, of course, is because I watch a lot of other great YouTube stackers out there, and I love to hear what they have to say as well. But unfortunately, there's this small sect of YouTube that definitely create an absolute ton of FOMO. Now, going back to February 2021 and the silver squeeze is when it really kind of started hitting full stride, but it had been around before that as well. But there were a lot of people that were FOMOing in the silver. And if you don't know what FOMO means, that means fear of missing out. In other words, you don't want to miss out if silver skyrockets to the moon, like a lot of these titles say, a lot of these videos say. And I see videos like this all the time. $400 an ounce, $500, $600, $1,000. Why is silver not $10,000 an ounce? Like absolutely insanely sensational thumbnails. And a lot of them are there to get clicks. And those videos really do get a lot of clicks. Absolutely. I see it all the time. Some of these videos getting hundreds of thousands of views with, sensational titles like silver's going to hit $600 an ounce. Here's why. If you don't buy silver today, it's going to be too late. And I just can't do that because I can't personally bring myself to create a FOMO into silver. Now, speaking of FOMO, though, there is something you shouldn't miss out on. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you go down below and click that sub button so you don't miss out on future videos from me like this. Also, there is a awesome giveaway going over my sponsor's website, Bullion, where they're giving away a full 2023 monster box of Silver Eagles. So if you haven't entered that giveaway yet, make sure you click that link below and get entered today. We will put that down there for you. And thank you to Bullion for sponsoring the video. But, I don't like creating FOMO. I don't like putting out these sensational titles about what could happen and you're going to miss out on silver because in my opinion, it creates bad decisions. I believe in sound financial decisions, right? So in other words, don't go out and, buy a $500,000 home when you make $50,000 a year. Don't go out and buy a $100,000 car when you're making, $50,000 a year. It's just not a good idea. And the same can be said for investing or stacking or hedging with silver, if you will, whatever you want to call it. The same can be said for buying an asset that's intended to make you money. If you're going into a bunch of debt to do so, all you're doing is paying the interest on the debt for an asset that, right now has went down over the last couple of weeks. It's barely $22 an ounce as I record this video. And, I look at silver as a very fundamental hedge against inflation, but it's not like it's a hedge against inflation for over a 5-year period. Like if you would have been buying silver back in 2011 at $50 an ounce, and then you're looking at me today saying that silver is a hedge against inflation and it's trading for 22, you're probably looking at me like an idiot. And I get it. I would be too. But I look at silver like on a fundamental level if you go back to the 50s and 40s and 60s even, and you think about the old adage of a silver quarter could get you a gallon of gas in the 60s, and it can still do so today. So if you have a quarter from 1964, it'll still get you a gallon of gas today. That is actually true, right? And if you look at a $20 gold pre-33, so if you go back into the 30s, you take a $20 gold piece, it will still get you a really nice suit today, just like it would have back then. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, a hedge against inflation over the long term, not a hedge against inflation over the short term, over the 5 or 10 years, because it's not going to be a lot of the time. So you need to, when you're buying silver, you need to put it into a mentality of, look, I'm stacking this just in case these sensational titles are right, which, by the way, I'm not saying they are. I don't believe in all that nonsense. I won't call it nonsense. Everyone has their own belief, but I don't really buy into all of that. The economy is going to collapse tomorrow. The United States has a very insanely robust economy. We have the world's reserve currency. Now, if we ever get into a situation where we are no longer the world's reserve currency, we might have a problem because the government is $31 trillion in debt. We do have a multi-trillion-dollar deficit. In other words, we're spending trillions of dollars more than we're bringing in. Which is very scary. We continue to raise interest rates. Everything is going up in price, making it harder on most Americans to make it by with the same money they were making just a few years ago. So if you think that's bad, imagine what happens if we do, lose the status as the world's reserve currency. If people stop trusting the US dollar and they start trading in, a different currency, the euro or the yuan or whatever it is, that, fair enough, is a scary situation, but that still doesn't mean you should make bad financial decisions, just in case something like that happens, because the more likely scenario is that something is going to happen in your life that you need to not be in a bad financial position when it happens. Like, let's say you wreck that $100,000 car that you just bought with only making 50 a year. Bad idea, right? It's not going to go very well, especially if your insurance doesn't cover anything, or if you get injured and you end up in the hospital and you end up with tons of medical debt. You don't want to be looking at, all this money that you put into silver that you can no longer get even, break even out of at the moment. You want to put silver away for that hedge against inflation, but you don't want to do it in a way that puts you in a bad financial position. I know I'm kind of reiterating or beating a horse, if you will, with what I'm saying, but make sure you have money set aside to cover emergency expenses. Make sure you have money set aside to cover your day-to-day expenses, and make sure you have cash, because cash is still actually important, as much as you don't want to believe it. And as much as I would much rather have silver than cash, I still recognize the importance of having cash ready for those situations that I talked about. So I definitely stack silver. I love silver. I 100% recommend silver, again, as non-financial advice. But don't put yourself in a bad financial position to do so. And getting back on topic here, I believe that's what sensationally titled videos like this are doing. So that's really what I wanted to bring to you. So I'm not saying not to watch them. If you like listening to things like that, fine. I can't do it, but if you are in the camp of, well, let's see what he has to say, sure, go watch him. But just remember that, I've seen comments. I saw this comment. This was back at the beginning of the Silver Squeeze. I saw a comment where a guy said he mortgaged his house and took the money from his second mortgage. He put a second mortgage on his house, I should say, and took the money from the second mortgage and put it all in the silver. And that was like, silver was like $27 an ounce when I saw this message, if I remember correctly. So it's not feeling very good. It's like all the people that, took all their money out of savings and put it into Bitcoin at 60,000 and now it's 20. It doesn't feel very good. So make sure you're in a good, strong financial position while you're stacking silver at the same time. If you want to take, some of your money and put it aside and you want to buy a couple of ounces of silver, great. If you have the extra money to buy a lot of silver, that's awesome too. But just make sure you are financially prepared for things that might come up, and don't put yourself in a bad financial position just in case something that is less likely to happen happens. Always prepare for the things that are more likely to happen, which is illness, injury, things like that. Because unfortunately, those things do happen to each and every one of us. None of us are immune from it. And you want to be in a position where you can handle that without going bankrupt. So, guys, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you did, do me a favor, don't forget to like and subscribe, like I said earlier. I'm going to throw a video up here. If you guys are interested in price discovery on gold and silver coins, this is a video where I called around coin shops and I asked them how much they were selling 1 ounce gold eagles for. Make sure you check that out, and I will see you in the next video.